Let me just start out by telling a story, I guess, about Noni. So for one, we've done a lot of clinical trials to show a wide range of benefits.
Do you know how many?
That are published, that have actually, because there's stuff we haven't published yet.
Yes.
But I don't know, more than it's about a dozen or so, you know. Plus, human studies, and we've got other stuff that. So there's been a bunch that we've done, and then that's the human intervention studies that I'm talking about, where we get people. Then there's other experimental studies, and we've published well over 100 on that. I've myself, I don't know, close to 80. Where I'm an author in a peer-reviewed journal article. And we've funded some research elsewhere, but not to digress too far there. But here's the story, okay? As the Polynesians migrated eastward across the Pacific, they took Noni with them, and they had these canoes. You know, if you mentioned Moana, they had limited space, and there's things called canoe plants, and it was stuff they took with them that they made room for on their canoes to make sure that they would take with them when they were sailing off to go find a new island, whether that was due to population pressures or war, whatever they were doing. They'd go explore the Pacific, and they would make sure that they took Noni with them. And because it was one of those plants that was going to help them not only thrive but survive on the new island. And in fact, Noni, that's one of the way the botanists and the other people who study population dispersions and things, they say that this is how Noni got its way across that Pacific, was human effects. You know, they took it with them. That's how it got out to these far reaches. Yes. So they knew it was good for them, and they made room for it. So why should we use it? Well, think about this. It was important to them. They saw it was necessary to survive. What about us? You know, maybe it could help us survive. In fact, I would say that in these human studies we've done, these intervention studies, and then the supporting research that we've done also, the in vitro and other things we've done in vivo, have shown that it has a wide range of benefits that can impact our health in many ways. Can I get a little technical early on?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
and this actually leads to something about the unique properties of Noni as well. So just an example, we all live in cities. Maybe some people live out in the country. That's nice. But a lot of us live in urbanized areas, right? And what is the air like in these urbanized areas? Is it clean air usually? No, there's stuff in there. Okay. We breathe these things that has an impact on us. It has an impact on our health. That's why we have concerns about air quality. So I'm just not talking about a specific disease state or something. I'm just talking about our general health. Okay, now I'm going to jump ahead to human clinical trial that we did. One of the big ones we started out with was research done with heavy smokers at the University of Illinois College of Medicine in the States. And we had gotten with a researcher, Dr. Min-Ying Wong, who was a cancer researcher. And we worked with her on setting up some clinical trials in heavy smokers. And these are people who smoke 19 or more cigarettes a day, like a pack of cigarettes a day.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of smoke. And the smoke, you know, everybody knows it's bad for you. So I don't need to get into all the details of this, all right? So we found that when we had a placebo, made the placebo, so we had a grape and blueberry juice and then a cheese flavor to mimic the name. And you have to find the right kind of stinky cheese flavor, more of the strong European type stuff. And then we had Tahitian Noni juice. So we had a placebo control group. And this was a 1-month study, just 30 days. And we drew blood at the beginning of the study from these people. And then you assign them to placebo or a Tahitian Noni juice group. And then they continued to smoke. And then after 1 month, we drew blood again and measured things like free radical levels in the blood. We measured DNA damage, different types of DNA damage in the white blood cells. And we found that Tahitian Noni juice caused a significant decrease in the damage that was occurring, significant in the DNA, significant decrease in the free radical levels of the blood. However, the grape and blueberry juice, even though those are, you know, full of antioxidants, flavonoids, they're good, healthy, you know, there's a lot of good things in there. They did not cause a decrease because these people are smoking a lot of cigarettes a day, and it was just too much. But the Noni, though, actually had a big impact while they were continuing to smoke. So the question was why? What is up with this Noni? What is causing this? So we did phytonutrient analysis, and found that it has something unique, a group of phytonutrients in there called iridoids. And noni is unique that way. You're not going to find it in acai. You're not, these other so-called superfruit juices that are, so.
It's not in any other fruit, is it?
It's in some that we use in a product called Max, but it's it's not common. It's very
not
rare.
Common. That's
it's
right.
very rare.
Yeah.
And so we already found another source, which we actually had to do original research to find as well.
Oh,
and so we had, but the noni is unique, and it has different ones too. But noni is unique that it has these iridoids. So we said, okay, let's look at DNA damage. And maybe I'm going off the rails here, but
we love it.
Okay. So DNA damage. So what we did is I have a colleague, Dr. Shashin Van. He's done work on medicinal plants for a long time. And actually he studied under kind of the godfather of phytomedicinal research in the United States, one of the top professors there, and got his PhD there, also in Chicago. And so, but he isolated these iridoids out of the fruit for me. And then I took them. Remember, I trained in toxicology too, so I know how to find out how stuff poisons people, right? How it damages cells. So I took cells and I exposed them to a carcinogen and measured the amount of DNA damage that occurred. Because that's something you have to have the usually initiation stage for that. So I exposed them to this carcinogen. Then I repeated the experiment, but first I exposed the cells to these iridoids from noni. Then exposed them to the carcinogen, and I got a over 99% reduction in DNA damage.
Wow.
So, connection. Iridoids in noni, this test with these cells, smokers reduce DNA damage. We connected that way. And we've also done some additional work where we show these iridoids have these antioxidant properties. So we saw free radical levels come down in the smokers. And then we've done some stuff with the immune system as well. Our colleagues, we have a R&D group in Japan too, and had worked with a group showing improving immune system function with these iridoids. Now, back to urban environments, right? Now, I've had somebody, I presented this research to somebody once, and they said, well, what do I care? I'm not a smoker. I said, well, do you breathe there? Do you breathe? So the smoke is kind of a concentrated form of these, what we call polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, right? And there's other stuff in there, but PAHs. They're in the air we breathe. You go to a big city.
So everyone.
It's there. It's just not as concentrated. But imagine if it can help these people, this concentrated form that they're smoking, what is it going to do for somebody who has a more dilute version? It's really going to protect you even more so, So,
well, I think just on that point, what you said yesterday when we heard this was the reason why you use smokers, because sometimes people say like, oh, why there's so many on smoking? And that's because it's illegal to give people cancer-causing chemicals. But if they're taking it themselves, then we can use them to study them. So I want to say, as a brand partner, who do you know who is smoking, not necessarily to help them give it up, which is the end goal, but you can't always make a smoker do that. But if they knew they could offset some of that damage, which we know because it's a double-blinded study, which means that you didn't know what they were taking and the person in the study, didn't know what they were studying. If they knew they could offset some of that damage, would they drink 60 mils twice a day?
I think they would.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other reason why. Not only just we wanted to find out, was noni. We needed to just make some comparisons to some other healthy fruit juices too. People, they're spending their hard-earned money on this product. Could they get this benefit if they just drink, grape juice? But the answer is obviously no, because they didn't do it, right? So we wanted to, let's tee it up. Let's see if this really delivers.
Yeah.
And what does it really do? And that's what we found out. So that was one of the benefits, is we gave it a really challenging system to study in, a really challenging test.
Yeah.
And we compared it to other fruit juices.
Yeah.
And guess what happened? Noni came out on top. And noni cost. So that I like to kind of lead with that one often, because that sort of just sets it up the rest,
Yeah.
So we have other clinical trials that show benefits to joints with people with osteoarthritis, benefits there. We have studies where improved immune system function, and the smoker studies show how it can help protect the immune system, right? Because we drew blood and took the white blood cells, and Then we've done other antioxidant studies with athletes to show how improved endurance and while at the same time helping oxidative stress levels. And the one recent one that I talked about in our meeting a couple of days ago was about how we took healthy young men and drew blood from them. And first we gave them noni juice first, and then measured it an hour later and saw the improvement in oxidative status of the red blood cells.
Yeah.
Which means that the hemoglobin in there, the iron in there has to be in a right oxidative state to carry oxygen well.
Right.
So when you get a lot of stress, oxidative stress, it's not going to carry that oxygen well, and you won't be able to deliver as much. But if you can control that environment, have some antioxidant action from like noni, then you can deliver more oxygen. And we saw that it was a big effect. And of course, we had a orange juice group, and noni was many times higher, 5+ times higher in its activity. Now we did see this. What does that mean? Now we said that there's an antioxidant benefit. We did a study with cyclists in Chile, the University of Chile, and we had you hook them up with a mask and you measure the air that goes in and comes out and CO2, and you do what's called a VO2 max measurement. That's basically how well are you taking in oxygen and your muscles using it. And the higher the VO2 max number, the more fit you are. So really, the athletes usually have higher levels. So we got these cyclists, and after 2 weeks of using Tahitian Noni juice, they had an increase in this VO2 max. It means the oxygen is being delivered better. There is a translation from this one clinical trial showing improvement oxidative status of the red blood cells. And what does that mean? Well, there's somebody who has improved VO2 max, and they're getting more oxygen delivered.
Great for athletes and
and pair it with the band.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. It helps about delivering nutrients and oxygen.
Getting it into the body.
So I talked about that. We've talked, there's all kinds of things. Heart health benefits.
Postmenopausal women.
Yes, postmenopausal women. That's one of the earlier studies we did where it showed improvement, or it slowed down the bone loss, and improved the hearing losses. You measure with hearing loss and measure with some tests in the urine where it showed calcium resorption and things like that, and improve their mood as well as the mental health scores. We've seen that in a lot of studies. So
so good.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's